very favorite things, which is shark superpowers or shark adaptations. But I think it's more fun to call them superpowers. And I think it's so awesome that I actually wrote a book, and I'll make sure the link, oh, it's going to be weird. Oops. There we go. You guys can see, called Shark Superpowers. And so I'll make sure the link for that is in the chat as well. It's right on our website. All right, so here we go. We are going to dive in. Right. So just a little bit about me, intro. Again, marine biologist, live in the Bahamas and spend a lot of time with these incredible animals, either diving with them, taking photos and videos, catching and tagging sharks. I also spend a lot of time teaching students just like yourselves about these animals, everything from biology, conservation, science, or shark superpowers like we're talking about today. So I do spend time with some large sharks. I like to show this because a lot of times people are very afraid of sharks. Now, this is a situation where this is a regular dive, and in the winter months, these beautiful animals, these great hammerheads come in, and we get to spend a lot of time with them. I was with these sharks on Monday and Wednesday this week. And so here I don't have my scuba gear on, so I'm just holding my breath and diving down and hanging out and taking photos and videos. You can see that big case I have, camera inside of that to keep it nice and dry and safe. And this video just shows how close they get, right up and over. This one, I've got my scuba diving gear, which means I'm wearing a special, think of it like a backpack that holds a tank of air that's going in my mouth that lets me breathe underwater. It's fun. It's amazing to explore the ocean and be underwater, but it's also a great tool for studying ocean animals. Could be turtles, whales, sharks, corals, fish. It helps us stay in their environment to learn more about them. I also spend time studying sharks. Our current project is called Project Lemonade. We're studying lemon sharks, which are like the ones you can see behind me here, and the little one that myself and my colleague Candace are holding. And some of the data we collect are measurements. So these are juvenile or little kind of baby lemon sharks. And you can see we're wrapping around. So we're actually measuring, think of what size pants you would wear. So sort of, but it's right where the shark's armpits would be if they had armpits. And then this is a length measurement. So we take specific measurements, we collect our data, we tag these sharks. And if you want to learn a bit more, you can check out Project Lemonade on our website. I'll make sure to include all of these links. All right. Let's talk about shark superpowers. So first thing we have to do, talk about, well, what is a shark? And this is a question that confuses some people because a lot of times people think they might be mammals similar to dolphins or whales, but they're actually a fish. And yes, they're different than other fish that you may have seen before. Maybe you've eaten fish, you've had a pet fish, you've gone fishing, right? But they are a fish. And one of the first differences, their skeleton, have a skeleton that keeps their shape, is made of cartilage. Think about if you bend your ear or the end of your nose, right? We have cartilage. Sharks do not have any bones in their body. Right? And this cartilage helps them be flexible. It's lighter than bone as well. They're covered with something called dermal denticles, which we're going to look into a bit closer in just a bit. Gill slits, openings on the side of the head, those lines, they'll have 5, 6, or 7 of those. They have a really oily liver, which helps with their buoyancy. Fun experiment to do at school or at home is mix oil and water or oil and vinegar and see what happens. They also have lots of rows of teeth. Right? So that's some of the things that make a shark a shark. Adaptations. Right, and don't forget, guys, please put your questions in the chat bar and I will answer as many as we have time for at the end. So there's a lot of big words on this page: structural, behavioral, and physiological. What that means is adaptations are something the shark can do or has, any animal, right? Whether it lives on land or in the water, that help it survive. Structural could be the shape of the body. Right? like that cartilage skeleton, behavioral, how they act, what they do, and physiological, we're going to talk about one of these, could be chemical things or reactions that are happening inside of the body, right? All of these things are helping animals survive. Now, there are over 500 different species of shark. They're weird, they're wonderful, they're amazing. And while they share a lot of things in common that make them sharks and a lot of the same adaptations, they have a lot of different ones as well. They're incredibly diverse, helps them survive in different habitats, eat different foods, and function in different ways. Habitats including seagrass beds, mangroves, coral reefs, or sharks that as they grow will move to different habitats, just like you might go to different schools as you get older. Right? So first thing, we're going to look at some adaptations that all sharks have. Right? And even though there's a difference, that's a tiger shark on the top. Her name is Joker, and a nurse shark on the bottom. Joker's a regular on the hammerhead site here, so we know her. She's got a scar on her mouth like the Joker from Batman. And her sidekick, Harlequin or Harley, is a smaller tiger shark that also shows up, which is really fun. Okay, so teeth. We're going to talk about sharks. We have to talk about teeth. This is why people are really afraid of these animals. Yes, they have teeth. We have teeth. Pretty important for chewing our food. Now, we're lucky. We don't have to try and run around and grab our food with our teeth. All right. Imagine today if your sandwich was running all over the place, or your breakfast, and you had to try and catch it and eat it only using your mouth, no hands. And it's moving, right? Not very easy. And sharks are not mindless eating machines that eat everything in sight. Think of their teeth like silverware. We're not going to eat our bowl of soup with a knife, and we're not going to cut our sandwich in half with a spoon, right? But we get to choose our silverware. For sharks, it's built in. So as scientists, we can look at their teeth, and I'll challenge you today to look at their teeth and think, I wonder what they eat. When we talk about it, then maybe when you see some shark teeth or photos of sharks after, you might start thinking about what they're eating based on what you've learned. Okay, so they eat different things, and those teeth are an adaptation to help them eat specific things. The nurse shark on the top left has these tiny pencil tip like teeth, but they actually crush things, right? They have hard plates as well. So think of, if you're going to eat a Jolly Rancher, you're not going to break it with your front teeth. You're going to slide it to the back to those big molars to crush it. But you might bite an apple with your front teeth. You're not going to try and slide that apple way in the back. Bottom left is a tiger shark. They have notches on their teeth. Think of a kitchen knife. They can actually saw through a turtle shell. Bottom right is a lemon shark, kind of a fork for grabbing at fish. And top right with that gorgeous smile is a cookie cutter shark. So they're a small shark that actually swims up to other animals, takes a little chunk out. Looks like someone took a cookie cutter. All right, you can see that tuna on the top right. That's what it looks like. They do not eat the whole animal. They just take a chunk and swim away. All right, conch are a big snail that nurse sharks like to eat. They can suck it out and crush it. Sea turtles and fish. All right, but sharks have favorite foods just like we do. They do not swim around the oceans eating everything in sight. So dermal denticles, we talked about that right at the beginning. Sharks do not have true scales like fish, right? Their entire body is covered in microscopic teeth called dermal denticles, which means skin teeth. Here's the beautiful nurse shark as we look closer, and up close with a high-powered microscope, right? To let us actually see those little points, to see those teeth. Kind of like a fingerprint, each shark has a unique size and shape dermal denticle. And you'll notice here, the sharks on the right, that mako and the porbeagle, their dermal denticles, there's a lot of them, and they're very tightly packed. Look at the shape of that shark, both of those as well. I'll challenge all of you to be shark scientists today and think about it for a second. The sharks on the right, look at their shape. Then the sharks on the left, that cat shark and leopard shark, okay, they're not as tightly packed, shape's a bit different. If you think about the ones on the right, the mako and the porbeagle, they're faster. Mako shark is actually the fastest shark. So those dermal denticles help them move through the water. So more of them tightly packed together actually makes it easier for the shark to move through the water. Think about if we were all going to go swimming right now. We're not going to put jeans, boots, sweatshirt, jacket, hat, and jump in the water. We're going to wear something that's made to go in the water, a swimsuit, a rash guard, a wetsuit, right? Well, sharks don't pick an outfit, it's built in, but this helps them move through the water. It also, these are very tough, so it protects their skin from things like bites from other animals or parasites and bacteria. Now, super senses. This is the really fun part about sharks. Yes, they have the same 5 senses we do. That includes ears. Sharks have 2 tiny openings on the top of their head. They don't have an external part, but they have excellent hearing. Can actually hear a wider range of sound than we can. So, but they have a couple of super senses, all right? The same 5 as we do, but some extra ones to help them. The first one are all those little dots you saw on the hammerhead here on the tiger shark. Those are not freckles. Those are called the ampullae of Lorenzini. Big long name after the guy who discovered them. And each black dot, you can see in the diagram, is a pore that's filled with gel. Think of hair gel or jello. But that gel can feel the heartbeat of an animal. They're called electroreceptors, right? They're feeling electrical pulses underwater. And you're probably thinking, electricity, water, that's not a good combination. It's different than what powers our lights, our TV, our computer, right? Our heartbeat right now, all of us are giving off an electrical pulse if we move from our muscles. And these sharks can sense that when they get close. So a stingray or a fish that's buried in the sand, even if the shark doesn't see it, hear it, smell it, when it gets close enough, it can feel its heartbeat. Think of a metal detector scanning the bottom. But instead of looking for buried treasure or lost jewelry, the sharks are looking for lunch. And here we can see it up close using a CT scan. Those are not balls of string. Those are those little ampullae. And there are the dermal denticles again. They also have a lateral line. It's not the red marks. Sharks don't have those. Just showing you where these pores are along the body that can actually feel the movement of water. And imagine if today in your classroom, I had you all close your eyes and I brought in a big standing fan. You could point out where the fan is with your eyes closed because you would feel the air on your left side of your face, maybe your right arm, right behind you. So you don't have to see, you don't actually see the air, you're feeling it. So they can feel the water moving around them. All right. Now for the really fun stuff. I want you to take just a few seconds and look at these 2 sharks. And to yourself, think about what's different, right? Just look at them. Shark scientists, what is different? So you're probably noticing the color, the shape, where they are, the shape of the eyes, the shape of the head. That top shark has these kind of things hanging down. Their fins are shaped different. So all those differences are actually mutations. The nurse shark on the top spends its time on the bottom of the ocean. It's a benthic animal. Uses those barbels to feel around in the sand, right? It's not built for speed. Its food's not fast. It's not fast. The mako on the bottom, however, the short fin mako, this shark, built for speed, torpedo shape, that snout, look at those teeth out there for grabbing fast food like tuna, right? Lives out in the open ocean, not near the bottom. Up to 45 miles an hour. Just look at this shark. And if you see other sharks shaped like this, think about they're probably fast, which means their food is probably fast. Things like fish, marine mammals, something that's going to be moving that they're going to have to be able to catch. Nurse sharks, not built for speed. Those big snails they like to eat. Snails are not fast. And nurse sharks can also do this really cool thing. They do not have to move to breathe. That mako shark has to move forward its entire life with its mouth open to let water in to go over those gills, right? Think of gills as the lungs for sharks. When we go, Take a big breath in. Sharks are doing that, but it's as water passes through. That's how they're getting oxygen. Nurse sharks can actually suck the water in and move it over their gills. Okay. And this lemon shark here is doing the same thing, opening and closing its mouth, kind of wobbling in the current. And it's breathing. And those are the gill slits on the side as the water is moving out. Super camouflage. Need to hide from predators or potential lunch. So the angel shark on the top left, you've got a cat shark on the bottom right, and those are wobbegums that are in with the corals. None of these are big sharks, right? So this can help them hide from much larger predators like bigger sharks, but it can also help them hide from their food. You'll see the wobbegong here, beautiful markings just like that coral, but little fish cannot. So this angel shark, I'm going to show you this video very fast, but then the video slows down. This angel shark's going to bury itself in the sand, right? And then it's going to grab a snack. All right, it's going to slow down. So that shark will wait there for days, right? They have spiracles, kind of openings on the top of their head that water can also come in for them to get oxygen. They're very, very patient. They're letting lunch come to them, all right? Imagine you're sitting there, instead of jumping up for the pizza, just sitting back and waiting for somebody to bring you a slice. You might have to be very, very patient because maybe somebody's not going to, all right? Or maybe in this area, you wait and wait and wait. There's not much around. So you got to move to a new area and wriggle into the sand again. They're called ambush predators, right? Very, very fast, strong, powerful jaws that help them grab at that food. The prickly dogfish. I mentioned earlier that dermal denticles are microscopic, right? Well, the prickly dogfish is a little bit different. So their dermal denticles are huge and spiky. So this shark is not fast. It's not big. Deep sea shark, right? It's not particularly camouflaged. So what can it do? It's spiky. That's how it survives. It'd be very difficult for other animals to eat this. Think of a porcupine or a puffer fish or a sea urchin, right? Very, very difficult for other animals to eat those things, right? It's their defense mechanism. This shark also has a spine on each of its dorsal fins, right? So their dermal denticles are large enough for us to be able to see, and they actually help this animal be a spiky ball that's very difficult to eat. Tail fins, the caudal fin. If you look at these, you'll notice they're different. Now, the bottom left is a great white or white shark. Top middle is a Caribbean reef shark. And you'll notice the top and bottom of the fins. If you see a shark that has a top and bottom lobe like that, they're usually faster. The ones that are missing the bottom part or kind of have that odd triangular shape, they're not fast, right? Their body is not designed for speed. And then on the top right, you're like, whoa, what about that really long one? Fast, but used for something different. The thresher shark has a giant tail, right? As you can see, they're really, really beautiful. And what they do is they actually swim forward. It's like they slam on the brakes, that tail flies forward like a whip and stuns the fish. And I'm going to share a link you can check out on our website. We have a longer video specifically about the shark where you can see more of that hunting action. Pectoral fins, the steering wheel of the shark. Those on the right, the longer ones, faster sharks. The shorter ones on the left, not as fast. So now when you see sharks, look at their fins. What are they shaped like? Do you think they're fast? Maybe their food is fast. Then what do you think their teeth might be shaped like if they're eating fast food, right? So it all starts to connect together. And even if you didn't know what kind of shark it is, right, what the species is, you can actually know a lot about the animal by looking at some of the adaptations you can recognize. Right? So fins are for swimming. We think of sharks, they swim. But then you have these epaulet sharks who actually hop or walk. right? They have that big eye spot, makes them look like, oh, they're a huge animal. They're not. They're about 3 feet in length, rather small little shark. If you've been to an aquarium, you may have seen these guys before. They're found in Australia. They're called walking sharks. I think there's 9 species now in the Pacific. And what they do is they walk along because they eat crabs, snails, little things. And what this shark can do, they like tide pools. Tide comes in, fills these rocky areas with water. They go in there, have a snack, but then the tide goes out and they're stuck in that pool of water. Uh-oh, oxygen. Okay, they hold their breath and they walk back to the ocean, right? Sometimes we think of all these really big sharks as being the coolest. That little shark can walk and hold its breath. I think that's amazing. But here's the big impressive one. Super breach, right? Some sharks can leap out of the water. Their entire bodies, which is particularly impressive when you're talking an animal that's thousands of pounds, right? And great whites will do this as they're chasing their food. Very, very athletic and acrobatic sharks. Probably my favorite shark fact. Yes, some sharks glow. Now, bioluminescence, we can see. This is a velvet belly lantern shark, named because it glows, right? And they have these little photophores that produce light, and we could actually see this, right? This deep sea shark is small, huge eye to let in any little bit of light that's down there. Other sharks glow in a different way, right? These swell sharks, our human eye sees the bottom. Brown shark, called swell sharks because they can actually suck in water and swell up to make themselves bigger like a puffer fish, right? But if we were swell sharks, we could see that glow. Now, this was done with special cameras, right? And what happens is they're absorbing blue light and they're reflecting it out as green using a special protein in their skin and a special camera to actually capture this. And scientists think this was only discovered a few years ago, that they're using this to communicate. Sharks don't chirp, tweet, howl, growl, bark. They don't make sound. Okay, because we know they do. So this might be their secret language, like maybe you have a secret handshake with your friend. Or think of sign language as well, or any different language that maybe only you, a certain group, might know, right? As a way of communicating without actually making a sound. Right. We talked about nurse sharks earlier. We saw their tiny teeth, and I said that they eat those conch, those big snails. Well, they also have super suction, right? It's been said that it's the equivalent of 10 vacuum cleaners together, right? I don't know if you've ever taken the nozzle off and put your hand against the vacuum to feel. You've probably done it. You're not supposed to, but you've probably felt that, right? Imagine 10 of those. They pull the skin right off your hand. So those conch are in there really, really tightly. So it's very difficult to get them out. So they use their super suction. Now in this video, you're going to see it with a fish. Right? And just watch. Gone. All right. Probably how some of you look eating a slice of pizza. Just gone. Very, very fast. We're going to see it again and gone. And he smiles about it. All right. So super suction for getting their food. Now there's a lot of text on that little thing at the top, the image at the top. Bull sharks can do something called or they use osmoregulation to do something really, really incredible. When we think of sharks, we think of the ocean. The ocean is salty. If you go in the lake or the pool or the water we drink is not salty, right? Bull sharks can actually swim in brackish, which is a mix of fresh and salt, and fresh water, right? But this adaptation has to happen immediately, very, very quickly. Adaptations normally take a huge amount of time for that to happen, and then for that animal survives and it's passed on and on and on. So adaptations take time, but this one's happening quickly. And what they're doing is when they go in fresh water, they have to be able to adjust their body to deal with that change in the level of salt. And they're doing that by peeing all the time. Bull sharks will pee about 20 times more frequently in fresh water than they will in salt, and sharks actually pee through their skin. All right, here's some beautiful bull sharks having a little snack. We have a lot of these sharks here. Now this one, yes, what its superpower is, and these are actually small tooth sawfish, so the flat shark, or the cousins to sharks. And what you see is kind of the body's flattened, the gill slits have moved underneath, and this can actually swing its saw back and forth to stun the fish to get the fish and eat them. Pretty incredible animal. Now, despite that superpower, they are critically endangered species, which means next stop is extinction if we don't do things to protect them. They used to have a large range. Now they're only found in Florida and some places in the Bahamas. Counter shading, another incredible camouflage that you'll see with sharks. See that gray, blue, brown on the top and a lighter color underneath. So counter shading means when an animal is at the surface and looks down, the ocean looks dark. So the top of the animal, top of the shark is dark to kind of blend in. Now you can see those light rays coming down from the sun. So if something looks up, those light rays, that white or light colored underneath blends in. Very fast shark. Those big long pectoral fins, pretty streamlined. Swimming along. They're also a critically endangered species. Great hammerheads, my favorite animal on the planet, have a super foil. It's their head. It's so specialized that it gets its own name. So the cephalofoil, very, very wide, very unique, not like any other shark. And hammerheads, particularly the great hammerhead, will have very, very large surface area. So think about the underneath. There are 10 species of hammerhead. Some are smaller, different shaped cephalofoils. These guys have, you might think, they probably can't see very well. I get that a lot. And they actually have excellent vision because of the position of those eyes out wide and the way they swim. They can see almost 360 degrees above and below, right? And they'll use that head to pin down stingrays, which is a favorite food of theirs. That surface area, if you remember, go back here just a second, under the head, all right, is covered with those ampullae. So they're a big metal detector scanning for stingrays buried in the sand. And then their nares, or their nostrils, are out wide, and that position also helps them figure out where a scent is coming from. So pinpoint. So they are truly a super powered shark. I'll let you guys see this again and see the underneath. Just amazing, amazing animal. Also critically endangered. And some of them have really unique markings. We can actually identify them. So when I was diving on Wednesday, I was with 6 different individual sharks, and I could identify all 6 of them. So those markings, think of if you have a birthmark or a scar that makes you unique, we can actually tell the sharks apart. So critically endangered, and really what that is meaning is that if we don't protect these species, they're going to go extinct. And unfortunately, despite having all of these incredible, amazing superpowers, over 1/3 of all sharks and their relatives are actually threatened with extinction. There's a lot of text on here. It's just really talking about what is causing that. Overfishing, taking too many of them out of the ocean. Sharks are caught targeted, so for their meat, for their fins, for the oil from their liver, which is used in lipstick, lotion, makeup. Shark is used in dog food, dog treats. People take shark cartilage pills. Go to your local pharmacy. I don't know what it is at Walgreens, CVS, Target, Walmart, GNC. I have seen shark cartilage pills at all of those. Shark meat, people eat it. But also what's happening is that habitat loss. So those beautiful mangroves that I kind of mentioned as one of the habitats, these trees that have their roots right in the water. Lots of animals live in these, right? Lots of baby fish, birds up above, lizards, but tons and tons of species down below. And so when they're wiped out, right, that habitat is gone. Plastic pollution, climate change is impacting all of these animals. Things that happen with climate change, that we're seeing animals move at different times as the water temperature is changing. Their migration patterns are changing, either because they can't tolerate that temperature or their food's moving and they're having to move it. So this not only affects humans, it affects the animals in the ocean as well. Pollution is everywhere. Animals get tangled in it. They also eat it, right? And it can kill them, unfortunately. And so it's on the beach, it's in the water, it's everywhere. This is Ropey. Ropey is a great white shark. Stuck around her. Obviously, the shark does not want that. So it swam into some fishing gear or net, something it got tangled, and you can actually see it cutting into her skin. So that last gill slit, all right, she's okay, but ideal. It's probably very uncomfortable for the animal. Imagine a dog getting a collar put on and then it grows and it gets really, really, really tight, right? And that's what's happening with our pollution in the ocean. It's a big problem for these animals. All right, so we're going to finish with sharks. Keep our oceans healthy, balanced, and clean. Some of them are apex predators at the top of the food chain, but no matter where they are, they're eating other animals, sick, injured, dead, dying, right? Helping that ecosystem thrive, balance, not too many of one fish or not enough of another. Think of them like managers, making sure everybody's doing their job. And we remove too many, it starts to affect the different ecosystems, the animal populations. So we want sharks swimming around. Healthy oceans need sharks, and we all need healthy oceans, right? The food we eat, products we buy, the air we breathe, some of the oxygen that you breathe, no matter where you live, every single day comes from the ocean, right? So these animals are important. They're not man-eating monsters. Shark bites are very, very rare. But unfortunately, humans kill about 100 million sharks every single year. And we need your help. Things you can do. You learned about sharks today, right? Read some shark books. Grab a copy of Shark Superpowers. Oops, there we go, to learn more. Pick a shark, research it. Make a poster or a video or write a story, create a piece of art to teach others about them. Use less plastic. Encourage your family members to, if somebody, the adults in your life, like their coffee, reusable water bottles, reusable grocery bags, using less plastic, cleaning up plastic. If you see it on the ground or trash on the ground, these are all things that make a difference, that not only help sharks, but help the environment around us. All right. So you can be wonderful shark scientists and help these guys. And it really does make a difference. All right. So if you guys have some questions for me about sharks, their superpowers, working with them, I'd love to answer as many as we have time for.
All right. So we have 4 questions in the chat. The first one is from an anonymous attendee, and they were asking, are sharks very fragile because they don't have bones?
No, they're actually really strong. Think about, have the flexibility of your ear, right? It's very bendy, but it's actually really, really strong. So it definitely helps them move. So no, not fragile, a very, very strong animal.
All right, and our next question is, why is it crucial to protect endangered shark species, and how might their extinction impact marine and terrestrial species?
So if you take out, it depends on the species, but say you take out an apex predator anywhere, on land or in the ocean, what happens is then the next level down, there's no predator. So their population explodes, right? No predator, nothing eating them, and it grows and grows and grows, and then they don't have enough food. So they disappear, and it goes right down the system. And this is no matter what ecosystem you're in. So any animal that eats other animals particularly has a place, has an importance, and it's all interconnected. So if you start wiping out too many of those, you're going to see fish populations decline. I've been diving in parts of Indonesia where they've killed all the sharks. and you're starting to see very few fish, and even some of the corals are dying. So it does have an impact. Now, whether that stuff probably isn't going to affect land, it is going to affect humans. All right. And our lives on land, because we certainly do need those healthy oceans. So this is why we want to protect those species, and particularly endangered species that are top animals. All right. Because we're already seeing a decline in their populations, and it's just going to get worse.
All right. And so for our next question.
The next question is asking, what can we do as individuals to help protect shark species biodiversity, even if only through small action?
Well, what we said, learning about them, talk about sharks. People are really afraid of these animals. They've seen crazy movies on the news. Yes, bites happen. Say they don't, but they're very, very, very rare. Sharks are not swimming around the oceans of the world looking for humans. So learning, get the facts first, and then share that with other people. Talk about these animals, posters, videos, books. Share that information, because so many people are afraid of sharks and they don't really know the facts about them because there's a lot of misinformation. But using less plastic, right? So much of our garbage and plastic ends up in the ocean. Supporting organizations that are working to protect sharks. Also, choosing sustainable seafood. If you have a question about what it is, how it was caught, if you eat seafood, where did it come from? How was it caught? Is there bycatch? Meaning they're trying to catch tuna, but they're catching a bunch of other things instead, right? So educate yourself about the products you're using, what you're eating, so you can make informed choices. And don't buy shark products. Check the labels and make sure you're not buying shark products.
All right, so our next question is from Megan Chan. She says, "Hi, thank you so much for this lesson. I'm from Hong Kong, and I was wondering if you wanted to start a chapter in Hong Kong for saving sharks. As you may know, we are probably known for shark fin soup. Just last year, people were still caught for owning shark fins. And I'm so passionate about sharks, so I'd love to help out. I think this would be an amazing way to create direct action. Also, can I have some book recommendations on sharks? I love reading too."
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining. I would say yes. You can email me, Jillian, Jillian, at sharksforkids.com. I will put that in the chat. I've done work in Singapore. I've spent time. I have visited Hong Kong. I did walk around and visit. I haven't done any programs. But yes, absolutely. I would love to chat more of that. We've actually had other individuals who've reached out about doing some programs there, and certainly visiting schools and being part of that. So I will make sure, feel free to reach out. And yes, book recommendations as well. If anyone, you guys feel free to reach out through the website as well. I'm always happy to share text style fact books, kids books, all of that. I love shark books. And now I get to buy a ton of them for my daughter, which is really exciting. So I have lots and lots of shark books and recommendations.
All right, great. And our next one is also from Megan Chan. She also said, "Can you please talk more about bioluminescence and sharks?"
Yes. So you have bioluminescence and biofluorescence. So bioluminescence, think about if you've seen lightning bugs outside. So it's actually these little photophores that are producing lights, versus fluorescence, which is absorbing the light and reflecting it out. Think of like a mirror, all right, that's reflecting an image back. And so multiple species have that. The lantern sharks, species of cat sharks as well. So pretty incredible that there's two different methods that these animals are glowing. So pretty, sharks are amazing, right? And you don't always see that on the TV shows. They're jumping, they're biting, they're doing all that. Sharks can glow, some of them. I think that's incredible.
All right, thank you so much. And our next question is,
Andres would like to know how long a great white shark can live.
So anywhere from 50 to 75 years. So they're one of the longer living sharks. Shark species vary anywhere from kind of think of like that 12 to 15 range, all the way up to the Greenland shark, which can live over 100 years. Over 400 years. All right, that is remarkable. A lot of the species we have here in the Bahamas, sharks, tiger sharks, hammerheads, anywhere from 25 to about 40 years, but great whites, it's about 50 to 75.
All right, our next question is from Anna Leah, and she would like to know how sharks respond to people and if sharks respond kindly to people.
It depends. I love sharks, but they're wild animals, and we cannot predict. We might know behavior. Like, I know that when I'm diving with Atlas, he's a male gray hammerhead, he likes to come up to the surface. That's a behavior that that particular shark does. So when you spend a lot of time with them, you can start to learn. They do have personalities, believe it or not. Some are more shy, some are more bold. Yeah, every species is different, and every individual within that species is very, very different. So I would never use it as kind. I don't like kind or aggressive for sharks. They're an animal that's simply trying to survive. So behavior of sharks, the feeding frenzy, right? If you took a handful of breadcrumbs and threw it on the ground with pigeons in a park, that's a feeding frenzy, right? They're smaller, they're birds, so we don't think of it as being real scary. Animals competing for food and surviving is a very normal thing to do. Now, do you want to be in the middle of that? No, not with any animal. It's not a good idea. So I think there are certainly sharks that are sort of more kind of, they're resting on the bottom, maybe not as active, like those nurse sharks. But yeah, certainly there are sharks that are a bit more active and may showcase that behavior that we would be considered aggressive. But when you think about it, it's really just these animals trying to survive.
The next question is asking if sharks have membrane eyelids like lizards.
So some of them do have a nictitating membrane, and it's an eyelid that comes up from the bottom. So when they're going to bite something, they'll actually do that to protect their eye. They have excellent vision. Their eyes are very similar to ours. So they want to protect that. Not all sharks have that. Like great whites will actually just roll their eye back so that it's just the white of the eye showing to protect it. But yes, some of them do have a nictitating membrane.
All right, our next one is from Kimberly. She was asking, how do gray hammerheads not get stung by stingrays?
So they like spicy food, apparently. So yes, it doesn't seem to bother them. And we I've found like dead great hammerheads, unfortunately, and they've had barbs in the mouth, lots of them. So it obviously doesn't stop them from doing that. So I always like to say they must like spicy food.
Mr. Whitmer's 4th grade class would like to know if sharks have belly buttons.
So some of them do. These little lemon sharks are actually connected to their mother with an umbilical cord, just like we were, and they're born alive. Other sharks have egg cases. They're born alive. They break free of that umbilical cord, and it leaves a little opening, a scar. So it is a belly button, but they don't have it their whole life like we do. For the lemon sharks, by the time they're about a year, it's completely faded or very, very faint. We can hardly see it. But yes, some species have a belly button scar from the umbilical cord.
And Nicole Lucas would like to know if you've ever touched a great white.
I have not touched one like with my hand. I have had one come up and touch my camera. So I'm a big believer in wildlife. So yes, when I was tagging those sharks, yes, we're handling it for a purpose. But when I'm diving, I'm not reaching out, petting them, trying to ride them, do that. I just think that they're amazing, but it's wildlife. And really, we should leave all wildlife alone if we can. Sometimes the animals come to you and the sharks will bump the camera or brush by, but not deliberately going out and trying to touch them.
Thank you so much. And then we have a student named Nubia, and she would like to know if sharks get along with each other.
So they do. Some sharks are rather social. These little lemon sharks have best buddies, just like we do. So they might hunt with one friend and hide out with another. They'll learn from each other. Dogfish are types of sharks that actually hunt together. And then you have sharks that are rather solitary, that they're by themselves all the time, unless they're getting together like in an aggregation for breeding, for mating. And you'll see species on the great hammerhead dive. We have nurse sharks, great hammerheads, and sometimes tiger sharks. So they're all sort of, they're not best friends or anything, but they're certainly tolerating each other in that situation.
Felipe would like to know how big sharks can grow.
So the largest shark is the whale shark, and they can be over 45 feet in length, and it's the biggest fish in the sea. So they're one of the bigger ones. You also have basking sharks, megamouth, tiger sharks, great whites, and great hammerheads are also large, but the whale shark is the largest species of fish, the largest species of shark.
All right, and then we have a question from Elena. She asks, if a shark were to wash up on shore alive, what can we do to get it back or to keep it alive while we wait for help?
So just like we breathe air, sharks breathe water. So the biggest thing would be getting water into the mouth and onto the gills. That would be the biggest thing if you couldn't get it back into the water. Wet towels over a hose, something to push, constantly putting water into the mouth to get that. If you can, securing the animal and lifting it back into the ocean, but obviously being very mindful of the mouth, right? Because this animal is stressed, doesn't understand, it's not in its normal environment, so it may thrash around. So making sure that's secured, working as a group of people to put that animal back, depending on the size. But you don't really want to drag the shark if you can help that. But if that would be the only way to get them back, you obviously want to get that animal back in the water. But also, if there's in the area, people that might be trained in doing this, it's best to get them to help as well if you can.
Sephora wonders if sharks eat specific fish, do each species have different diets?
Yep, they eat specific fish. So they'll have favorite fish, but also think what's available in their habitat, and what's easier. Now, some sharks, like tiger sharks, eat a wider range of things. They're known as the garbage cans of the sea because they eat a lot of different things, where other sharks have a very more specific diet, like that prickly dogfish likes to eat the egg cases from other sharks. Where then, makos are going to eat things like wahoo, mahi, tuna, faster fish. White sharks prefer marine mammals, seals and sea lions when they get older. So it really does depend on the shark. Yes, some eat a wider range of items.
So Brandon would like to know what the lifespan of sharks are.
So, yep, we kind of said that earlier. So it really depends on the species, but you're talking anywhere from something that might have in the kind of the teens all the way up to over 400 years for the Greenland shark.
Mr. Whitmer's fourth grade class is wondering which predators eat sharks.
So orcas, killer whales, eat sharks. They like the liver because it's oily. Seals and sea lions will eat smaller sharks. Bigger fish like grouper, barracuda. This site here that I took this photo at, there's a huge barracuda. And I'm sure some of these smaller lemons when they're born definitely are eaten by barracudas. Groupers are another big fish that will eat small sharks. Humans, however, are their largest predator, biggest problem, threat for them.
So Amir would like to know how deep sharks can dive.
Hundreds of feet and some thousands of feet. Some sharks only stay deep, right? So that prickly dogfish is a deep sea shark. So you're talking hundreds and hundreds of feet deep, and that's where they live. They never come to the surface. They are adapted for their body to handle the pressure that's down there because pressure increases as you go deeper in the ocean. Their eyes are adapted for no light. So other senses are very, very cued in. I mean, shark senses are incredibly powerful, but those sharks where it's pitch dark are relying on other senses to find food and to navigate. So you have some species that move in between. We know that bull sharks, great whites, different species will dive deeper and move up and down, while others just stay deep. So pretty incredible. There are a lot of actual deep sea species of sharks, and new deep sea species are being discovered every single year.
Elena would like to know what your favorite shark is and why.
The great hammerhead is my favorite animal on the planet. They're just amazing. There's nothing like them, and getting to see them and dive with them is really, really special. Certain individuals, Stella was my favorite. She hasn't come back. Queen is probably now one of my favorites. She's the largest great hammerhead we see here. She's probably about 14 and a half feet long, big, beautiful animal. And so they're my absolute favorites. Sadly, though, critically endangered. So I want to teach others. I want to learn more. I want to share that. So hopefully all of us caring about them and studying them and sharing that is going to protect them.
All right. Chase would like to know if sharks can get sick like humans.
Absolutely. And sharks can even get cancer. So sometimes people say, oh, they don't get cancer. So if you take shark cartilage pills, it's going to prevent cancer or cure cancer. Wrong. Sharks absolutely can get sick. Now, their healing capacity is remarkable. If a shark gets a cut or an injury, it's going to heal very, very quickly. So different than how we get sick, but absolutely sharks can get sick.
The 6th grade DL class would like to know if sharks hurt humans.
They can. So shark bites do happen. People are surfing where great whites are hunting seals and sea lions. People are fishing. So yes, bites do happen. Very, very rare. On average, it's about 5 to 10 humans that die from shark bites in the world each year. That's the entire world in a year. It's very, very, very rare.
All right. We have a question from Madison, and she would like to know what the smallest shark alive is and how small it is.
So we have the, now it's the pocket shark, I think is now officially the smallest. But there's a dwarf pygmy lantern shark as well. You're talking about 6 to 8 inches long. That's as big as they get as an adult shark. Right? Very, very small. And the pocket shark is not named that because it would fit in your pocket. It's so tiny. It actually has little pockets behind its pectoral fins that can actually eject a glowing liquid. Amazing.
So Peter says the underwater photos of the sharks look great. Could you talk about any specific techniques that are used to find and document the great variety of sharks? And is it getting more and more difficult to find them regularly?
It depends on where you go. So certain areas that seen a lot of sharks before, if they've been fished out, yeah, it's gonna be harder. The photos and videos you're seeing that I've shown you and that you're gonna see on TV shows and the internet, people put bait in the water. All right, we put, just like that nurse shark ate that piece of dead fish. Sharks are really not interested in us at all, and very rarely do we. You're gonna see a natural gathering or just a shark maybe passing by out of curiosity. Most of the time they're around because we've put some dead fish in the water to actually get them to come close enough for us to photograph them and take videos to be able to catch them, tag them, all of that. So yeah, seeing one swimming by naturally, really, really amazing. But most part of what you've seen, somebody put dead fish in the water to get them to hang out.
All right. So our next question is from Skylar, who would like to know how many teeth sharks have.
So it depends on the shark, but they're going to have multiple rows. If you've seen the jaw before, you may have seen where the teeth go behind. So sharks are like a conveyor belt. Their teeth fall out and another one moves forward and another one and another one and another one. So something like a lemon shark that can live up to 40 years can have up to 30,000 teeth in its lifetime. 30,000 teeth, because those teeth are really important for catching and eating our food. Imagine if you lost a tooth every day at lunch, we'd run out really quickly, right? And we lose our teeth, get our adult teeth, and that's it. So we've got to take really good care of them. Sharks don't have to worry about the dentist, cavities, all that. New teeth, all their whole life.
All right, so we have 2 questions that are kind of similar. One is from Caleb and one is from Yashil. Caleb is wondering when you started looking at sharks and what inspired you, and Yashil asks, did you always want to study sharks even as a kid?
I did. So I was very lucky. I swam with my first shark while snorkeling when I was 8 years old in Florida. My family used to go there for my dad's work every year. And I was obsessed. I wanted to learn more, went to the library, got books, but I spent a lot of time at the ocean as a kid and was just fascinated by snails, crabs, anything I could find. So I told my parents I wanted to be a marine biologist when I was 5, and it just never changed. And then as soon as I discovered sharks, I was just fascinated and I wanted to learn more. And then as I got older and I learned more, a lot of people were telling me things about how bad they are and they're monsters and they're scary and they're this and this. And my experiences were very, very different. I was having these incredible experiences. I was learning a lot. And I wanted to share that with other people because I realized that how much misinformation, how much fear exists around an animal. And, people are terrified of sharks and they've never even been to the ocean, right? That's how powerful fear can be and misinformation can be, is that to be so afraid of something that lives in the ocean and you've never even been to the ocean, right? That's how powerful misinformation can be, how dangerous it can be. So it just continued for me, and I studied them so that I could become a marine biologist and do more, and then now teach students and people all over the world about why they're important and what we can do to help them.
All right, we also have a question from Ethan.
Are there any sharks that have poisonous or venomous properties?
So Greenland sharks have toxins in their skin that can be toxic to humans. Other sharks have spines, like that prickly dogfish actually has the spine on the top. So yes.
Okay, we also have a question from us, and they would like to know if some sharks are related to whales.
Nope. Whales are mammals and sharks are fish. So the whale shark is named that because of its size, and some whales filter feed. So whale sharks filter feed. They don't use their teeth. They have them, but they don't use them. They actually suck in the water and eat plankton. All right. So those tiny, tiny, tiny little plants and animals, they're sucking in. And so they get that name because of their filter feeding and their size. They're called a whale shark, but they're 100% a shark, not related to whales at all.
All right. Johnny would like to know what a lantern shark predators are.
So because lantern sharks, because there's different species, are in the deep, it could be other larger sharks and larger fish that live in those areas.
So Megan Chan has one last question, and she asked if you could talk about the limiting factors that sharks face in their ecosystems. More specifically, she asks what things affect the population growth of sharks, and is it more of insulation or something else?
So it's now you have natural things that are happening. So if say there's a natural incident where a population of fish is affected by something, say a disease goes through, right? And there's less of that for the sharks that eat it. Okay, that may affect. But now what we're seeing is it's primarily human generated pollution, habitat loss. So if you had a space where 100 sharks lived and you remove half of it, now where do half of those sharks, if that ecosystem shrinks, it can only support so many animals. There's only enough energy and food for so many animals. And if you take that away, where do those animals go now? They can't stay there. And they'll outcompete. And, either they have to move or only the strongest are going to survive that. Climate change is driving migrations and moving patterns. We're going to see a lot of that affecting how animals move and how certain species are surviving, because either the change in temperature they can't tolerate, so they're going to end up in a different area, maybe where there's a larger shark or different sharks, and then there's going to be more competition, and we may see both populations affected because, again, there's not enough food to support all of those animals. So right now it's really human driven is the main factor that we're seeing. Fishing pressure taking them out. And so, yeah, it's really human-driven pressure that's on these animals.
Caleb would like to know what countries you have traveled to be with sharks.
So I live in the Bahamas. So that's one of the first places I went to see sharks. I worked in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia. I've gone to Mexico to see them. Where else have I gone? Different parts of the US as well. So And yeah, so I've been pretty lucky to travel to some really incredible places to work with sharks.
All right, so we're kind of winding down, but we have a few more questions. Kimberly and Elena both ask, is it true that sharks can smell blood from a mile away?
Absolutely not. So yes, they have an excellent sense of smell. Imagine a swimming pool, a normal size swimming pool. If you put a spoonful of blood in there, that's about how as far as they can smell. So now if there's a big dead whale, that's putting off a lot more stink in the water, bigger stink. They're going to be able to smell that from a bit further away. But no, certainly not a mile away. And also sharks aren't necessarily attracted to human blood. Certain species, we've done experiments where we've actually put blood in with Caribbean reef sharks, human blood, and lemon sharks, and they've gone away from it. All right. So just because you can smell something doesn't mean you're going to eat it. Garbage can full of rotten garbage stinks. We can smell it. We're not trying to eat that. Right. Same thing with sharks. Just because they can smell it doesn't mean they're trying to eat it.
Christian would like to know how you can tell the difference between a boy and a girl shark.
So very, very easy. They have pelvic fins. Think of where your hips are if you had fins. Male sharks have claspers. They have a finger-like extension, one on each of the pelvic fins. Females do not have that. So if you can see the underside of a shark or a ray, and you can see those finger-like extensions on those pelvic fins, it's a male. They don't have it, it's a female.
All right, and Kim, wondering how you catch larger sharks to tag them.
So we have a couple of different methods, and you guys make sure you check out, I put in the chat, hopefully everybody can see it. We actually have a section on the website all about tagging. So you can see some of these methods, but we have drum lines and long lines are kind of our traditional ways of actually catching the sharks. And then once we bring it next to the boat, it does have a hook. We do use a hook and fish for them. We secure that line, and then we get a rope around the tail to keep it next to the boat. If it's a shark that has to swim to breathe, the boat will keep moving. And then we collect our data very, very quickly and let the shark go. But we secure it next to the boat. So one, it's not hurting us, but also it's not hurting itself, flailing around because it doesn't know what we're doing. It just wants to get away. So we do it very, very quickly, let the shark go.
All right, and I think that this is going to be our last question.
Nubia would like to know if sharks grow up with their mothers.
No, mom and dad sharks do not take care of their babies at all. And if they come back after so many years, smaller shark, an adult, they will have no problem in some species eating their own young. Little baby sharks, no matter how they're born, are on their own. It's whether they're in the egg case and they hatch out or they're born alive, they're on their own. So absolutely no parental care from the parents.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We enjoyed listening to this so much, Jillian. We appreciate everything you've done for us today. And congrats on 11 years of NVTI.
Yeah, I know. And thank you so much. I love this event. And thank you to all the classrooms and groups that joined. Please check out the website, sharksforkids.com. It's the number 4. And also please reach out to me. You can email through the website if you guys have more questions or want to see a little bit more about what we're doing. You can also check out our social media pages. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much again. We appreciate it. We hope
all right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care.